You know how people say, follow your passion, and they forget to add the part where doing that was the equivalent of climbing a mountain without any proper equipment and running on fuel called dreams? Well, it was the summer of 2023. I just finished my first year of senior high school, and I was looking for a way to spend that summer productively. I was already doing freelance work as an artist at that time, so I thought that summer was going to be spent doing the same illustration and design work I'm used to doing. But as I was scrolling through the site that I usually look for gigs in, I saw one posting that said, "Hiring Webtoon assistant." It piqued my interest. I've never done a gig like this before, but what's the harm in trying? In hindsight, that was indeed idiotic of me. But hey, I was 17 and broke, so I was applying for anything. And besides, I had a love for comics, so what's the harm in... Oh, they replied? Wait, what? Your art is great. Do you have any samples of comics or webtoons you've done? Yes. Okay. Well, can I see them? And so I spent that whole day making a webtoon page prototype of a story that doesn't exist, with zero knowledge, a dream, and a single Android phone. I drew 6 panels, no dialogue, no SFX, just characters fighting. And there was one thing I could say for sure. I enjoyed it. Yes, I did. And with full utter confidence, I sent it to the client and... ghosted. Honestly, I was running on pure delusion thinking I'd get that gig, with zero experience. But you know what? I was, and still am, pretty stubborn. So stubborn that when my parents told me I had to stop going to school during high school because they didn't have enough money to send me to one, let alone an art-oriented institution, I set my pride and dreams aside and got into a public school. But not just any public school, a science high school. A school that was so notorious for its grueling STEM curriculum and a low acceptance rate that had so much more subjects than a typical high school would, which meant longer school hours and more work. But that didn't stop me from studying art. I took what little time I had after and consumed as many art tutorials and books I could. I even bought an online art course to better my understanding of the fundamentals, because expecting a science high school to teach anything art-related is like expecting the tooth fairy to come at night in a country where tooth fairies weren't even a popular concept. I was running on caffeine and pure spite during that time of my life. And so, that rejection from the webtoon gig sparked something inside me. It ignited that same stubborn side, and it felt like walking into an unskippable Pokemon battle that resulted in an inevitable loss. But instead of closing my device, it made me want to grind my levels more to conquer that battle. So that summer, I scrapped whatever plans I already made and life I had to live and challenged myself to create a comic. My first venture was a webcomic called Devil on Top that I published on Webtoon. I figured maybe I'll try a simpler art style so it's low effort, meaning I'd be able to commit to it long term, and nope. Did not enjoy it at all, whatsoever. Back to the drawing board I go. I sat down with myself and thought real hard. What would make me enjoy this and commit to it long term? Think, Dev. Think. Use that brain of yours. What? May I suggest that you could try using this art style? Yep. That wasn't my first attempt at making webcomics, folks. I lied. Straight to your face. Back in 2021, I used to make these short webcomics in this art style, inspired by the artists I liked at that time. Unfortunately, this was the only one I could retrieve because I scrubbed my old art social medias and reformatted that same old Android device I mentioned earlier. But that takes so long to do. What if I get burned out? But you clearly don't enjoy the other ways of doing it. And besides, you can use this to keep learning and improving that painterly art style you so adore. You're right. But that means I'd have to commit more time here and less on commissions and work. You know I can't do that. I need money for the family, especially during emergencies and my school needs. Then why not earn from doing comics? Or you can earn from doing comics. And so, after doing my due diligence and researching, I found out I could earn from comics through 2 paths. One is by growing a community-based income by publishing my webcomic online for free and hope to gain a big enough following that even just a small portion would want to support me financially. Or 2, by fundraising to produce physical copies. My problem with the former option is, again, that would require me to dedicate most of the few free time I get just to be able to yield results that weren't even guaranteed. And quite honestly, at the time, I was so overwhelmed with social media that I deactivated 2 of my personal social media accounts for a year or so. So the fundraising path was looking more viable for me, as I found people having success in fundraising without any following, and at least then it's more straightforward that I would be getting money for what I'll be doing. Of course, I wasn't ignorant enough to not know that you'd still need to do some marketing, but with my mental state at that time, I knew I wouldn't be able to handle it alone. And so I asked my long-term partner to help me out, and he played the pivotal role all throughout the process. I won't go too much into details about the struggles we faced throughout, which included not being able to find a place that prints comics locally near our place, international shipping fees costing twice than the comic itself, and getting my first wave of haters as we finally started growing our social media accounts. I had him handle it more than I did because of how much it stressed me out. But overall, the first campaign was a success! We managed to print the comics and had copies that we got to sell locally in art fairs. And the spare money helped me to pay for things in the household and fix my father's vehicle so he could continue having his own source of income to support our family. Wait, the title of the video said you failed it. So where did it fail exactly? Well... I don't exactly know what the timeline of events are anymore, as I've tried my hardest to suppress a lot of my memories during the last years of my high school. But somewhere during what I would consider as the upwards trajectory of my career, wherein I had launched the second issue of my comic, was working for a client's comic who'd given me an opportunity to work on something for a big show, being in the priority list for artist alleys, and even having stores offer slots for my comics. I'd suffer so much losses and struggles in such a short time. It was what I would consider to be my worst year ever. I didn't know what to focus on or how to focus. To be honest, it's all such a blur to me now that I don't even know how I managed to graduate with higher marks despite it all. But if there's one thing that I struggled with the most, it was art. Everything that happened to me during that time made me despise drawing. I loathed it. I avoided it. And I did something that to this day, I'm still trying to forgive myself for. I delayed producing the comics for a year. It took me months to finish work for my clients, and honestly, I would have fully given up on it. As I was accepted to one of the most demanding, sought-out, challenging state university to get into my country to pursue law instead of arts. The only reason why I'm in an art school, although for film and advertising, is because I got a full grant scholarship. And even then, during my first year, I still didn't want to draw. I passed half-baked work just enough to get good marks, but never doing more than what was needed. That year was the worst for me. I felt so disappointed in myself, as I felt like I had everything going on for me to help me succeed. And most importantly, I hated how much I let down the people that believed in me enough to give me and my project the support that it needed. I felt like the scum of the earth, and I was scared of facing the consequences of my actions, all alone. I felt like I wasted so many opportunities and that I should have been given to other people that were way more deserving and hardworking. I felt like a failure. I never wanted to draw again. But it was the only real good skill that I had to profit off of, and well, we're not really in the best financial state to say the least, and we're always one bad emergency away from being in a really, really bad place. So it was bad. The pressure I had was comparable to what it would probably feel like to be 1 to 3 meters down in the Marianas Trench. Should I have just gone for law instead? Hey, wanna draw with us? And so, let's just say the end of my first year in college was definitely the turning point of my life. I started forgiving myself for my mistakes and started trying to move on. This was mainly by the help of both my parents and my newfound friends. God, I love them, and so thankful for them. And I'll be damned if I don't learn from my past mistakes and make the same mistake twice. And besides, I'm too stubborn to give up on my dreams, especially something that's been in my life for like all of it. And so, just like in the beginning, it was the summer of 2025. That was when I set myself to start making comics again. This time, without being under pressure of a hard curriculum, I had more breathing room to somewhat balance school, freelancing, and my personal projects that I hope could someday be my main source of income. And that includes content creation and social media. Yes, I'm doing all of that on my own now, regardless of how terrifying it is. But I feel like I'm way more prepared this time. I'm giving myself another shot. No, not literally. And I'm going to try harder this time. I only have one life to do this anyway, so might as well give it my all and see where it goes. My latest webcomic project right now is called My Girlfriend is a Samurai. It's a comedy, slice of life, romance, action series that is mainly comedy. Though I still want to draw some action scenes and monsters because I like drawing them. And so far, I've only published it to 3 sites with 1 episode to its name, but I'm making the second one and I'll be able to publish it by November. So yes, I would like it to be a monthly release, but you know, if things are going my way, hopefully I could do it bi-weekly. But anyways, if you guys want to be a part of the reboot of my art journey, then yes, you may. Kidding. But yeah, you guys can follow along my socials or subscribe here or something, I don't know. And I'll appreciate each and every one of you. I don't know if anyone would stay this long for this video. It's quite longer and more personal than usual, but I don't know. I don't even think I'd want this to blow up. It's kind of more like an intimate thing between me and my current subscribers right now. So I wish this serves both as an inspiring story and a warning to young, aspiring comic creators like me. Because despite everything, I'd still want to provide the world with entertainment and value. So let me know if you guys like this or not with like, I don't know, the dislike button or the comment section. And I'll see you guys